are 20 of us now attending. Appreciate you coming out. As we said before, if you have suggestions, please give them to us to do this. Otherwise, you leave me and Yoder up to doing what we're going to do, and that's probably not always going to be what you want it to be. So today what we're going to do is we're going to have a rules quiz. We're going to have a rules quiz today. And look at that. I just went, Yoder, look at that. I just went like, oh, it's special. Like, look at, I got a microphone and everything.
Boom.
Just like an air traffic controller.
We're
going to go, we're going to do a quick rules quiz. We got 7 questions if we need it. We'll use, we have definitely get through 4 of them anyway. So I'm going to launch the poll, and then Yoder will fill in as we talk about it. So our first question to start off the night is, Yoder, can everybody see that?
Yep. I muted myself. I can see it.
How come, do you hear that? Yes, I hear that. How come I don't?
Did you turn it on? You got to select
You.
in here. You got to select that you're using. See right here. Or this one down here.
Oh, we're voting. That's good. They must be able to see the screen.
Yep, they can.
At 21. Nickel, pay attention. Wait a minute. Let's get him over here. We got 2/3 of us have voted. Looks like we keep losing a couple of people going in and out. Can't tell.
Yeah, we have a couple people bouncing in and out, Mark.
I don't see anybody on with a phone though, so that's what I was kind of looking for, to see if anybody who was connected via a phone. Because I
We
know
have a couple people not paying attention, but
they probably already answered, seeing who they are. Yeah, I don't see anybody connected with a phone, so hopefully everybody can see the screen and do everything. Okay, so we got 80% voted. That means there's about 3 or so of you out there that still need to vote, please.
There we go.
Couple more, if you can. We'll wrap this up here in a minute. In a few seconds.
go guys, vote early and often. Let's go.
No. What's Tony doing?
He's trying to get the headset working.
Oh, jeez.
Can you hear me? I got it working. I just
Yep.
clicked the
No, we
wrong.
can't hear you. You're.
Shut up, Mark.
Come on, Yoder, you know this.
You know you can hear me, you lion. You can hear me?
Easy.
Can you guys hear him seriously? Because in all seriousness, he's really, really quiet for me.
Yeah, it's really low.
How about now?
That's
There you
better.
go.
All
Okay,
right.
I gotta eat the mic.
We're at
That's-
Sure is better.
Somebody's got a question.
we're at 90% and it hasn't moved. So let's go ahead and rock and roll here. How do we show this?
No. I'll do it.
Okay. Okay.
Close.
Oh, you want to do it, or you want me to?
I got it.
Should be shared right now.
Yep. Okay, so 82-ish, 4 out of 5 of us say that the ball stays alive and nobody is yet out. That's correct. So most of us got that right. The ball stays live because it was dropped untouched. It is not an intentionally dropped line drive or an intentionally dropped fly ball if it's not actually dropped. So if we allow it to drop, it stays live. So until somebody throws somebody out, ball's live. Nothing's happened yet. All right, good job.
Can you see the question right now?
C, yes.
Okay. All right, good job. For the 2 or 3 of you that didn't get it right, you might want to look at the rule reference and reread Rule 5.1, 1J, and see what that means. Remember, Intentionally dropped means the ball went into his glove and he knocked it on the ground or guided it to the ground. Letting it fall is not intentionally dropping it. All right, let's look at question number 2, and we'll read it out loud, and then I'll launch the poll, and you can look at it. Then maybe that'll speed things up a little bit. But batter 8, Jones is replaced by substitute 8, Brown. Jones re-enters the game, now hitting for batter 9, Smith. Jones is considered to be a legal substitute, an unreported substitute, an illegal substitute, batting out of order. So I'll launch that poll right now. Oh boy.
Guys, while you're voting, remember, if you guys have quick questions, let us know. A couple of us are monitoring the question box.
You should be able to either raise your hand, I think.
Oh, we're not going to let them talk, Mark. Come
Oh,
on now.
or you can just type it in the question.
Just type it in. Just type it in. If it's pertinent to the group, we'll read the question aloud, not giving your name, and answer it for the group.
We're all over the map on this one.
Mm-hmm.
We're not.
3/4 of we got about 4 more people to vote. So if you're in here, there's no sense of hanging around if you're not going to put yourself out, make a guess.
Keep in mind, you guys don't have an option to not vote during a game.
That's
You
right.
have to vote.
Oh, no, I've worked with some of these guys. They not vote a lot during a game.
I used to not vote.
Yeah.
Jerry had
All right, we got one.
Oh, we got one person that hasn't voted yet. Oh, sweet, we're cruising. Jerry had a D1 guy not vote in a scrimmage in a game last year in the football.
Enough. Stop. All right.
Okay, 95%. That's probably about.
All right, we're gonna close this, dude.
Yep.
All right, so Jones started in the 8th spot. He was replaced by Brown, also in the 8th spot. Jones re-enters the game, which is legal. However, he has to re-enter and hit in the 8th spot. So being in the 9th spot makes him, by rule, an illegal substitute. So not quite 60% of us got that right. I mean, he is batting out of order, but he's an illegal substitute before he's batting out of order.
Again, this is something that we're our penchant for going to no third world plays, and these kind of things aren't third world plays. They happen in high school baseball, especially in programs where the coaches are new or somebody's not paying attention. And to not get this one right is a difficult one. So these are kind of things we got to know. It's okay for substitutes not to report, provided they report in the right place at the right time. So this is something we got to pay attention to.
Right, and the difference is that the penalties for each one of those things is potentially quite different. So
why don't you talk for a quick second about those penalties?
Well, if you would apply the batting out of order penalty, you may or may not have an out, depending on when somebody figures out that this guy is in the wrong spot. If Jones comes up in the 9th spot and the other head coach says, "Hey, this guy's batting out of order," you look and go, "Oh yeah, you're right, he's batting out of order." He's still at bat. He's not out. All we do is we put the correct batter there. The problem is that he's actually an illegal substitute as soon as he walks into the box. In the case of an illegal substitute, he's out and he's restricted to the bench. So the
Mark?
Yeah.
While you were asking that, it reminded me while you're talking about it is I think somewhere we have Matthew's webinar recorded of how to handle lineup cards. And this is one of the reasons why you want to learn how to handle your lineup card.
Yeah, that's correct.
So do we still have that video, or do we need to do that as a first and third again?
It should be on the YouTube channel.
I'll go hunting for it.
All right, let's look. If we can find it, we'll let you guys know. But this is a perfect idea for you, especially as you move out of the tournament baseball and the little league baseball into JV and varsity and middle school baseball, that where you now have to start keeping lineup cards. You should have a routine for keeping lineup cards so that when somebody sends somebody in and you look and you say, whoa, that dude's already been out of the game, he's re-entering, but he was in this spot, now he's trying to come up here. So that can be helped with good paperwork. I mean, unfortunately, we're the only game where the officials actually have to keep track of the lineup on the field. I guess in volleyball, a little bit of that occurs, but we actually have to keep track of that and responsible. My son Stu just shook his head no at me. He's a big time volleyball official. So, because there's a book, we're the only guys that we are responsible by rule for the lineup cards. So this is a good idea now, a lineup. So Mark, I'll let you go back to the penalties.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much it. You know, obviously, if you chose either one of the first two, there's no penalty for those. So we would just, if you thought that was the answer, then you would just proceed on and apply no penalty at all, and that would be incorrect. And the difference between an illegal substitute and batting out of order are potentially substantially different. So we just got to know that when he comes back in, re-enters, he has to go back into the same spot that he came out of. Otherwise, he's an illegal sub. All right, I don't see any questions, so let's roll on.
All right, awesome. Let's go to question number 3, and I think you can still see my screen, right?
Yes, the poll is still up, Tony.
I got it.
Okay, so all right, thank you. So we can see my screen. Question number 3 says, D.H. Smith is batting in the third batting position for F9 Johnson. In the fourth inning, Johnson hits for himself. What happens? Johnson becomes the DH. Smith can re-enter the game only as F9, but can hit in any batting position. Smith is eligible to re-enter the game at F6, but only hit in the third position. Smith cannot re-enter the game. So this is one of the things in high school baseball that's peculiar that we have to be aware of, is re-entry rules. Who can re-enter, when, where, and why. And so I'll give you a second. Go ahead, Mark.
And also in high school, a DH can hit for anyone, not just the pitcher.
Oh, you just cheated.
No, I didn't cheat.
All right. I'll let you look at that for a second and come up with your answer, because I think I had to truncate the answers a little bit to fit into the 130 character max that I have on the poll. So I'll let you look at that for a second, and then I'll go back to that poll.
It says right in the question, D.H. Smith is batting in the third position for the right fielder Johnson. See, I've already said he can hit.
I know. All right. Here we go. I'm going to launch the poll.
Only in the 3 hole. There you go. Hmm. 35.
We got 23 people, so we ought to have. We're at about 12 now, 13. Oh boy.
We started off really good.
We got one guy on the phone, just so you guys know.
I think that's George. He was just texting me a minute ago.
I think Andy Sadowski's on the phone too.
Yep. Then we have 2 on the phone.
Did you guys meet Andy Monday night?
No.
Andy's new from Florida.
Really?
Yeah.
Welcome.
I was going to say from where, and I can't remember.
Lake Worth.
Lake Worth, that's right.
See, I'm the nice guy in the group. Yoder's not.
I had to look it up on Google Maps. I knew it was down by like West Palm Beach or something. All I know is it's way too damn hot down there.
All right, fellas, 80% of you voted. That means 16 and 2.4, 18 people have voted. We got 5 more people. Vote early, vote often.
I'm looking forward to that Florida weather.
You would.
I've been looking forward to that since the last day of the season.
Oh God!
Wait a minute. Who moved Nickel over to
I moved him
organizer?
over. I moved him over, but I forgot he could unmute himself.
I'm not an organizer. I'm a panelist.
Why does Kyle sound like a robot?
I don't know.
Well, you've seen him umpire, haven't you?
Couple more people. Well,
Yeah.
Come on,
we've
fellas.
seen it.
All right, that's enough. If they're not, I'm not. Like I said, we're not gonna. All right, so we have closed, and we got some issues because we have less than 50% of the people chose one choice, so we're all over the place. We have 47% of the people said the substitute is eligible to re-enter the game as F6, but only hitting the 3 position. We had Smith cannot re-enter the game. We had a quarter of you say that. We had about 16% of you say Johnson becomes a DH, and I didn't share it, and about 11% say he can re-enter and only is F9. So Yoder, let's hide the poll, and I'll show the answer.
Okay. Maybe. There we go. That's not the right answer.
Nope, it's not. What's the answer, Yoder? Somehow I typed the wrong thing there.
The answer is C. Okay, so when you have a DH, there we go. When you have a DH and the person, the player being DH'd for comes in to hit, the DH is terminated. So you go back to a straight 9-man lineup. Johnson just becomes hitting for himself. He's hitting in the position he was in the third batting position. Smith was a starter. Johnson was a starter. So both of those guys have re-entry eligibility. Meaning they can leave the game and come back into the game. Johnson was a starter on defense. Smith was a starter on offense. So they retain re-entry rights. However, Smith can only re-enter in the third batting position. So he really can only re-enter for Johnson in the 3-hole, or he could re-enter for someone who replaced Johnson in the 3-hole. He can come in and play any defensive position, but he is tied forever and ever and ever to the third position because that's third batting position because that's where he started.
Okay, Mark, what happens to the DH the position DH in this situation?
The DH is terminated. You just have 9 guys playing the field and 9 guys.
Why is the DH terminated?
When the person being DH'd for enters the game I'm sorry, I'm saying that backwards. No, that's right. When the person who's being DH'd for enters the batting order, the DH is terminated. If the DH goes in and plays the field, the DH is also terminated. So if either one of those cross to both sides, the DH is terminated. You just have a straight 9-man lineup.
So in this case, again, we have more than half of the people here, and you guys are the half. There's 28 of you 28 of us here that obviously you care about what you're doing and want to get better. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be on this line. You might, the more than half of us didn't get this rule right, and this is a rule that's really weird in high school rules, and you should be aware of it. So you should understand who can re-enter, when he can re-enter, why he can re-enter, and when and why we would lose the DH. So far we've had 2 questions about re-entry and substitution that we struggled on a little bit. So we might want to get back into Rule 3.
Okay, let me clear up something that I see in the question. The F6 there is not a typo. That was put there intentionally. Smith can enter the game in any defense. He can re-enter the game in any defensive position. He can come in and pitch. He can come in and play any defensive position, but he has to hit in the third batting position. So that F6 is not a typo. I don't want you to think that he can only come back in as the right fielder.
So understand, again, in terms of lineup card keeping and those sorts of things, from a rules perspective, the only thing umpires care about is batting order, where they're playing, except the DH, right, which is still a batting order issue. Where they're playing in the field is not important, but where they bat is, especially when you start seeing people moving around.
Yep.
So, again, let's get back into the DH rule, look a little bit at it, okay? If you have your hand raised in here in the little thing, we're not going to acknowledge you that way. Just go in and type into the question box, and guys will acknowledge you that way, because hand raised means you want me to open your mic, and I don't think we're going to open mics. So we're going to go back. We've closed that poll. Mark, can you see my screen again?
Yeah.
All right. So let's go to question number 3.
No, 4.
4, rather. I'm sorry, 4. Jackson, number 25, is an eligible player and courtesy runs for F1 Smith on the first inning. Which statement is false? Jackson may courtesy run for any following pitcher. Jackson remains eligible to substitute for any player. Smith may run for himself in the third inning. Jackson may courtesy run for the catcher Brown in the 7th inning. So which of those statements is not true? Okay, so I'm going to launch this poll. And there we go. That one's easy. You can see the entire question in the poll, or should be able to see everything. Remember, courtesy runners are optional rules, and it's one of those things that the schools anybody can use if they want in Virginia High School League. So it's probably a good idea to understand those rules.
%. Oh, no. I thought 100% had voted. My bad. Which one of those statements is false? That means 3 of them are true. We're at almost 80%, so that's about 17, 18, 19 of us.
So we're at 80%. If we get to 90%, we'll be at 20. Now we're at 19.
I know there's a couple on the phone, so.
Okay. Give it another minute. Another second.
91%.
All right, I'm going to give it.
Holy crap, look at that. All but one person.
Nice.
3, 2, 1. Okay, 96%. That's pretty good. Okay.
All right, you can see again, only 2/3 of us got the answer right.
Okay, so.
Go ahead, Mark.
Yep. So courtesy runner, you gotta hunt for this. You gotta hunt for this. It's not actually in the main rules that 1 through 9. It's actually in an appendix or something beyond Rule 10. Courtesy runners. Okay, a courtesy runner may run for the catcher or for the pitcher. They cannot run for both. So Jackson may courtesy run for Smith, which he's doing, and he can continue to courtesy run for any pitcher that comes in the game. So A is true. As a courtesy runner, if all he's done has been a courtesy runner, he remains eligible to be a substitute, and he can substitute for anybody. That is also true. A courtesy runner is an optional thing. The person who has been courtesy run for, either the pitcher or the catcher, can always run for themselves. So C is true. The only thing that is false in there is that if Jackson has been the courtesy runner for the pitcher, he can never be the courtesy runner for the catcher. Even if Smith goes to catch, he cannot run for Smith as the catcher later on in the game.
So I finally understood this. If you read the high school rule book, it says prospective substitutes aren't allowed. So let's suppose Yoder is the third baseman because he's known for his speed, and he gets on first base, and the coach goes, "Tom, I want a courtesy runner for Mark." And you go, "Dude, he's the third baseman." He goes, No, he's going to catch next half inning. Right? Or suppose Yoder pinch hit for the third baseman, and now he's at first base. I want to run for him. He's going to catch next half inning. That's not allowed. He has to have been the catcher or the pitcher while they were on defense for him to be able to be run for.
Correct. It has to be the pitcher or catcher of record, meaning that they've actually played that position.
All right, I think we got time for one more question. We got 3 minutes, so I'm going to try it and go one more question. Here's the last question. We have 2 batting out of order questions. I'm only going to show you one. We're going to try to keep this to 30 minutes, so we have about 4 minutes to go. So, and I'm going to leave this up because I just wrote in the poll, I can't write that whole thing out because I don't have enough room, so I'll let you think about it. So the batting order, as always, is Abel, Baker, Charles, Daniel, Edward, Frank. Abel hits a double. Charles bats next and singles to left, scoring Abel. Daniel enters the batter's box, and the defense appeals the batting out of order. Right, so we have, again, Abel, Baker, Charles. You guys can read this. Abel hits. Charles comes up, scoring Abel. Daniel enters the batter's box. The defense appeals the batting out of order. So our answers are Charles out. Baker is now the proper batter. Abel returns to second. Charles is out. Daniel is now the proper batter. Abel returns to second. Baker is out. Charles is the proper batter. Abel returns to second. This is legal because the defense did not appeal while Charles was at bat. Okay? And so the problem is I could write out the answers, but I couldn't write out the question in the polls. So remember what you have is Abel hits a double. Charles comes up next, singles to left, scoring Abel. Daniel comes up after Charles. The defense appeals, batting out of order.
They have not thrown a pitch to Daniels.
Right. They have not thrown a pitch to Daniel.
Has come to the box.
All right, here we go. I'm going to share this poll. Share. Oops.
Wrong one.
Sorry, my bad. Bad mouse work. Hide. Sorry about that, fellas. Boo. There we go. Launch. So again, while you're looking at the answers, remember, Abel, Baker, Charles, Daniel, Edward. Abel hits a double. Charles hits a single. Charles comes up, hits a single, scores Abel. Daniel comes into the batter's box. The defense says, hey, that dude was out of order. So they're claiming Charles was out of order.
I think we can do the next one too. We're only going to be 5 minutes over. And if anyone wants to go, they can go.
You made this one too easy.
Because batting out of order, like Tony said.
Oh, we made it too easy? Chris, look at the poll as it develops. Tell me you made it too easy.
I'm aware of the poll, but I'm just saying.
Like Tony and I talked about this the other day. Batting out of order hardly ever happens. But when it does, it's a bleep house. It is an absolute bleep house for the reason that we're going to show you in a minute. Right now, we are all over the place on what the answer is.
Well,
and I actually, if you guys think it won't happen, I had it happen in a game, in a Division I game last year, and in almost exactly this thing. A guy came up, hit a double, then the next guy came up to bat, got a base hit, but in the names, that the only thing different about this situation here is the names. The guy that came up's name was Manny. The guy had hit before him, I think his first name was Dave. He was the first baseman. The catcher came up behind him, but they skipped over the DH. So let's call this one done. We're going to close it. And as you can see, the answer, Yoder, is...
Okay, so I'm not going to tell you what the answer is yet. Wait a minute. I got to go back to the question. Okay, so remember.
Okay, so
Abel got hit a double. We skipped Baker. Charles came up to bat. He scored Abel on a single. Daniels gets in the box. Okay, so whenever a batter is skipped, the proper batter is always out. The proper batter is always out. So when Charles came up, he was an improper batter. The proper batter was Baker. Baker didn't hit, so he's out. Okay? And anything that happened when the improper batter was at bat is nullified. So Baker's out, and the next proper batter after Baker is Charles. So the answer is Baker is out, Charles becomes the proper batter, and Abel goes back to second base.
So again, and I guess with Yoder, I will take an extra 2 minutes here for the next question, but only half of us got this question right. And that's troubling, and it's something that we have to be aware of. So if you're on the field, 1 and 2 of you who are working together aren't going to get this right. So if you're the guy who's working the plate that's in the 50% that got it wrong, if you're in the field and the 50% that got it right, go and save your partner. Right? Don't, if you have any clue that it's going on, try to help out. But we got another rule we got to back into. We haven't been doing very well tonight. And again, not to pick on Yoder, but he argued with me and told me again that there was no reason to do batting out of order because all our guys do it and it could work.
I did not.
Yoder, I had to argue with you again. Okay.
Hey, Yoder.
Rule 712 is the rule you're looking for. All right, let's go to question 6.
Okay.
You see my screen?
Not yet. Give it a second.
Did you hide the poll?
No. I didn't hide it.
Should be able to see my screen right now.
Not yet.
What do you see?
I still see the answer for the previous poll.
You don't see question 6 on my screen?
No, sir.
The last poll is still up, Tony.
Let me go back and see if we can't.
Go pull.
Share. Okay, hide. How about now? I just hit it again.
No.
Shiznit. How about now? Can you see it?
Nope.
Yes.
I have it hidden.
There
you
we
see
go.
my screen now?
Now you're good.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right. Again, the batting order: Abel, Baker, Charles, Daniel, Edward, Frank, George, Irwin. If you want to keep going, Baker is due up, but Abel hits instead and hits a single. Baker then bats and sacrifices Abel to second. Charles singles and scores Abel. The defense appeals that Abel hit out of order. Okay, again, same batting order: Abel, Baker, Charles, Daniel, etc. Baker's due up. Abel hits, gets a single. Baker then bats, sacrifices Abel to second. Charles singles and scores Abel. The defense appeals that Abel hit out of order. Okay, and so we have Abel returns to first. Baker improperly sacrificed him. Charles must hit again. Abel is out. Baker takes his place at second base. Charles is the proper batter. Abel returns to second base. Charles is out. Daniel is the proper batter. Abel scores on Charles' single. Daniel is the proper batter. So I'm going to launch this poll. Give you a second to keep reading the question so you understand. Baker's due up. Abel hits. Gets a single. Baker then bats. Sacrifices Abel to second. Charles singles, scores Abel. The defense appeals Abel out of order. Vote early, vote often.
Welcome to Chicago. Somebody is reading, somebody's clicking to send me a chat. Oh, yeah. Yeah, remind me of that, Chris, because there's something else that I wanted to bring up off of another question that I saw that we answered, but it's a good point.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay.
I think I cut you off last time. I apologize.
All good.
All right, so
All right, we're at 70% voted.
So remember, here it is just again. Abel hits a double. Baker was oops, sorry, wrong question. Here we go.
Baker's due up.
Baker was due up. Abel hit instead and hit a single. Then Baker came up, sacrifices Abel to second. Charles comes up, singles and scores Abel from second. The defense appeals that Abel hit out of order. And we're at 83%.
We got about 17 people. I'd like to see 2 or 3 more people vote. I know this is a tough one. I'd like to see 1 more people vote.
It's easier than the last one, I think.
No, this one's hard as hell.
You think? Okay.
Yes, this one's wicked hard. Wicked hard, as my friends from Barstool Sports would say.
Wicked hard.
Wicked hard. That's what David Portnoy from Barstool Sports would say. Go Patriots. I hate the Patriots. No self-respecting New Englander roots for the Patriots. Patriots fans are Johnny-come-lately fans. Yeah, they're all Johnny-come-lately fans. Bunch of front runners. All right, let's call this one as over. I am proud to announce that we finally broke. More than half of us knew the rule, which is good. But we have a full 1/4 of us online did not know the answer to this question.
Or 30%, but that's okay.
No, it says 25. Okay, 30. You're right. 30%.
Yeah, there you go. Math is our friend. Okay, so in this case, the defense appealing that Abel hit out of order is actually true. He did hit out of order. Baker was supposed to bat. However, we have 2 problems with this. First of all, once we go past the guy that hit out of the order, the guy that followed him, we can't come back and say 2 batters ago that the guy hit out of order. Okay, first of all. Secondly, once the improper batter completes his bat and the defense does not appeal, the improper batter becomes the proper batter. So, although Baker was up, Abel hit. When Baker came up, Baker follows Abel. Even though Abel hit out of order, Baker follows Abel. So when Baker completes his bat, that legalizes everybody. Okay? So even though we skipped Baker to start with, Abel hit, nobody said anything. Baker hit, nobody said anything. Charles came up and he hits. Well, Charles is supposed to hit after Baker. So at this point, although we skipped the guy two batters ago, everybody is legal. Everybody is legal. So in this case, in this question, Daniel is the proper batter. So Abel scores on Charles' single, and Daniel is the proper batter. I say all that right, Tony?
Yep. So remember, the key is they have to appeal the improper batter before the next pitch. If they throw a pitch to the next guy up, it doesn't matter where he belonged. He's now the guy, as long as he's the guy that follows the improper batter in the lineup. Once there's no appeal, the improper batter becomes the proper batter, and the lineup begins from the last proper batter. And so since we didn't appeal the batting out of order when at the right point, Baker is the proper batter because he follows Abel in the lineup. Charles follows Baker in the lineup, so he is the proper batter to bat after Baker. So, guys, what we need to do, guys and girl, we need to get ourselves back into the rule book and understand the rules for batting out of order. So that's something we got to get back into and understand. There's nothing wrong with not knowing, because not knowing then gives you the ability to know and to find out what we don't know. So the key of any education is you can't fix what you don't know until you don't know it. And so now we know stuff we don't know, so let's get back into that rule book. Remember, the high school rules test is live, and you guys can start taking that have registered for high school baseball. So with that said, we'll try to wrap up any questions here, and we will move on from there. Thanks again, and if you guys have any questions or any suggestions for what you'd like to do in 2 weeks, please let me know.
Yeah, hang on a second. Hang on. Two things I wanted to clear up, because there was a question and Silvestri mentioned something. Back to the on the batting out of order. Any outs that happen when the guy is batting out of order stands. Remember, on the first question, we put Abel back on second base when we determined the guy was out of order and we enforced the penalty. We put Abel back. Had Abel been thrown out at the plate, he's out. He's still out. He stays out. In this second question here, if Abel had stolen second base when Baker was batting, well, actually, that's a bad example, because at that point, Baker's already legal. But if somebody steals a base when the improper batter is batting, the stolen base counts. They get to keep that. If they make an out, the out stands. The offense cannot benefit when the improper batter is then properly appealed and called out. Does that make sense?
All right, guys. Thanks again for coming. Please get back into the rule book. Batting out of order is pretty similar. It's similar in all rule books except for one thing on the penalty, which I encourage you to look up. But let's go get back into the rules, look at the rules, and get ready for the season. For you guys in our first and third year, we'll see you on Monday. Please, anybody who's online here or part of this, come on out to Cage Work. When's the Cage Work?
Cage Work
Sunday?
Cage Work Sunday at 1.
Where?
Freeman High School.
Freeman. Same place we were last time, Freeman.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for coming out. We appreciate it. And if you had 4 and you took the over, you won. Thanks again for coming. And we'll see you or talk to you again in a couple of weeks.